All right, this time we're going to try to do Acey Ducey in multiple languages. The languages we're going to implement this in are Ada in GNet Studio, Basic in GW Basic, C++ and C Free, C Sharp in Visual Studio 2019, which is the oldest Visual Studio that I can run still, COBOL, Open COBOL IDE, Java in Eclipse, Lua in Zero Brain Studio, Pascal in Turbo Pascal, Perl in Notepad++ and then run in the command line, PowerShell in Notepad++ and then run in Windows PowerShell, Python in Idle, VB.NET in Visual Studio 2019. Also, going to do two more this time, Haskell in Emacs, and Assembly, 8086 Assembly to be precise, in GUI Turbo Assembler. Last time, I had some inconsistencies and I had some pauses in my videos, in my coding, when I was trying to remember A, what methods I might need, or B, what exactly I display to the user. So to that end, this time, and every time in the future, I have planned it out. I should be able to just have this file running, displayed on my portrait screen to my left, and be able to just go boom, 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 down each of these bullet points in this document and just implement that in the language on the screen. So then, all I'm fighting against is the language and the bugs. And that should make for not only a more pleasant experience for me, but a more pleasant experience for the viewers. All right, so I have identified the global variables that I need in this game. And this is running, which is a Boolean for the main outer loop, game over, which is a Boolean for the inner loop, wallet, which is an integer that holds the player's money, and an array of integers called cards that holds the 3 dealt cards. Because the way Acey Ducey works is you were dealt 2 face-up cards, you bet your money if the third card will be between the first 2. So that's why it needs 3 cards. Now I have broken down the methods and functions that I will need so that we can just, like I said, boom, 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 get through these. First one was ask a question. It accepts a string prompt, it displays that prompt, and then asks for input. If the input is empty, then it says, please answer the question. Otherwise, it returns the input as a string, uppercased. Get integer input and isInInt will kind of work together because it will get integer input, will accept the prompt and return an integer. And it's going to, if you don't have an integer input by passing it through isInInt, if that returns false, then it will say you did not enter integer and try again. Keep asking for you to input that. Many languages is an integer is very simple, but I'm still going to try to do it so that you could compare. Anyone who wants to compare languages could just look at the function isInInt in one language and the function isInInt in another language and be able to see how they differ. Ask for bet. So this is asking the player, what is your bet, and returning that input. It can't be non-negative, or it can't be negative, excuse me. If it is negative, then it will say, please bet a non-negative amount. If it's greater than the amount of money that they have in their wallet, it will say, sorry, my friend, but you bet too much. You have only wallet dollars to bet, showing them how much money they could bet, the maximum. Ask to play again. We've done this in the past. Do you want to play again? Get a response, yes or no, returns as bool. Anything else? Please answer yes or no. This will use ask question. So the logic in ask to play again will be specifically for yes or no. Ask to see the rules, very similar to ask to play again will be a bespoke method. It could easily just be a single one called something like ask a question, return true or false, but I'm going to break them down like this. This one just says, do you want to see the rules? And then same deal, returns Boolean true or false. Display card. So this accepts the card as an integer. It doesn't return anything. All it's going to do is display either the numeric value of the card if it's less than 11, or Jack, Queen, King, Ace for anything above that. So 11, 12, 13, 14. Display the rules will display the rules for playing this game, and they will be precisely: Acey Ducey is played in the following manner. The dealer, computer, deals 2 cards face up. You have the option to bet or not bet depending on whether or not you feel the next card will have a value between the first 2. If you do not want to bet, input a 0. Generate a random number. So generate random number, that was in the last series, exactly the same, minimum, maximum integers, show as a Boolean. It generates a random integer between minimum and maximum, and then determines whether or not it displays that as it generates it using the show Boolean. And regardless of anything, it returns that generated value back. Select card. So this will randomly select a card between 2 and 14. Verify it has not been selected for any of the values in cards. So all 3 of those values must be unique. And if it has, you just try again. Otherwise, call display card so that you can see the card that was selected and return that value. All right, here's the pseudocode for the main logic. The first thing we do is display Acey Ducey, colon, and whatever language that we are coding in. We set running to true. If the ask to see the rules call returns true, then call display rules. And then we start our loop, our outer running loop. We initialize the wallet to $100. We set game over to false. Here comes our game over loop. While game over is false, display you now have so many dollars. Set into the first slot of the array, select card. Select a card into the second slot of the array cards, and then ask for a bet and put that into a local variable called bet. If bet is greater than 0, then go ahead and select that third card and compare. If that third card is between the first 2 cards, display you win and increase the wallet by the bet amount. Otherwise, display sorry you lose and decrease the wallet by the bet amount. We will then clear out those cards 1 through 3 to 0 so that we can have that good check in the select card. Otherwise, if they kept the values, then we could have a weird running situation. If wallet's less than $1, which means you're broke, display sorry friend, you are broke. Set game over to true. Now, if you remember, in the get a bet, ask for bet method, you can return 0. You can bet $0. And if you do, game's over. So that's what happens here. If the bet is 0, set game over to true. This do loop logic is for the game loop. So once game over is true, it'll just drop out of here and it'll display game over with asterisks. Then, if the call to ask to play again returns false, then set running to false. And this next loop is for the running loop. So once running is set to false, it just drops out of that loop and it displays, okay, hope you had fun, and then thanks for playing. And that is Acey Ducey, how we're going to attempt to implement it in all these languages. Here we go.